This is a yoga practice about trust. So we're going to be doing some poses that encourage you to be a little more trusting in yourself. Let's get yogaing. Find a comfortable seat on your mat, cross-legged, in your sukhasana, or on your knees if that feels better. Roll those shoulders back. Take any movements so that you can just sit here for a bit and breathe. Gently closing down the eyes or lowering the gaze. And starting to take some deep breaths. Maybe 3 long deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, in your own time. Just grounding you here. Feeling like you're rooting into the mat, settling in. And then return that breath to a more natural breath. In and out through the nose. Today we're focusing on trust. Good old trust. It can impact so many things around us. Having trust in other people can improve our relationships. But trust in ourselves can make us more confident, more daring, and more able to kind of settle into our decision making. We don't always have to have a plan. It doesn't always have to be structure, but trusting our instincts as we go forward is super important. So just trust yourself as we move through this practice. If there are any odd shapes that kind of bring up feelings of nervousness, just see what happens if you trust yourself. Even if it's just for a couple of seconds. Gently bat open the eyes, and we're going to come straight over onto all fours. So stacking wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Inhaling to lower belly, lift head, arch that spine. Exhale to press through the fingers as you lift the back up to the ceiling or the sky if you're lucky enough to be outside. Inhaling to lower the belly, rise the head. Exhale, bring that spine up to ceiling or sky. Move through this a couple more times with your breath. Taking the whole breath to get to the kind of full pose. And then the next time you come back through center, keep your hips stacked above knees, but start to walk the arms forward, hands forward, as you start to lower the chest to the floor. If this feels really tight on the shoulders, take your arms wider here. And maybe you start to bring your forehead towards the mat. Or maybe if this feels relatively open, maybe bringing your chin to the mat. Sinking into our puppy dog pose, our Anahatasana, heart opening pose. Really releasing with each exhale that chest, that heart down towards the mat. Taking one more deep breath here. Keeping those hips stacked over knees. And then gently start to walk it back. Back to your all fours position. As you inhale, rise your right arm as tall as you can. Rise fingers to the sky, really reach. And then exhale to wrap this right arm all the way under the left, palm facing up, side of the head and the shoulder come to the floor. Just making sure that the weight is in this shoulder, not so much in your head. Now press into this left hand. We're going to keep this left hand where it is for the moment. Roll that left shoulder back. And then maybe you're going to start to take your left foot back behind you. So tiptoes touching the floor at first, taking that foot back. That might require a bit of trust already. And then maybe you start to lift the foot. You don't have to lift it high. Yes. A bit of a wobble. It's a bit of a balance here. But trusting yourself, trusting that your shoulder here has got you grounded. This left hand has you connected to the floor. There might be a wobble, but you can still lift that leg. And then gently bring the knee back in. Press down through this left palm like it's a lever as you press the right arm all the way up. One final stretch. And then exhale the hand down. As you inhale, left arm comes up, really reach on this side, fingertips all the way up. And then exhale to sweep it under your right arm. Bring that left shoulder down to the floor. Keep that right palm connected with the earth. And then start to take that right foot back. Toes connected with the floor, making sure that you're pressing into the left shoulder here. The weight's not just in your head. And lifting that right foot. Flexing it back behind you, feeling the wobble, but your connection here with the earth. Allowing you to trust. Yes, and then gently lowering the toe to the earth and bringing the knee back in, coming all the way up to that all fours position. And just walk your hands out in front of you, tuck your toes and press the hips all the way back to your downward facing dog. Inhale to lift the hips a little higher and exhale to release the heels a little closer to the floor. Finding your downward dog here. Really pressing through your spread fingers, taking any steps or twists that you need. And then take your feet as wide as the yoga mat, toes slightly off the mat, heels slightly in, and start to walk your hands back towards your feet as you lower your hips to sit into your malasana, your yogic squat. You could keep your hands connected to the earth here. You could press your elbows into your thighs and try and lift the chest, roll back the shoulders. Maybe a bit of movement here. Or maybe just sitting still and grounded. And then release the hands to the floor if they're not there already. And inhale to press the bum high. Wiggle the feet into under your hips. And just grab a hold of opposite elbow as you dangle here. You can take a big old bend with the knees as you start to kind of press the weight into the toes. Yes. Finding this glorious releasing pose. And release the hands, tuck chin into chest and roll all the way up to the top. Inhaling to lift arms above you, maybe clasping the hands, pressing the palms up towards the sky and taking a stretch, leaning over to the right and over to the left. And then releasing the hands as you press the bum back. Exhale to fold it all the way down. Now wiggle your feet out to the mat width once more. Toes out, heels in, and sit back down into that malasana. Just seeing how it feels for the second time. That first one was early on into our moving. Might have felt tight depending on what you've been doing today. This one might feel quite different. Just checking in. And then releasing the hands, walking the hands back into that downward facing dog, moving the feet into hip width apart. As you inhale, shift over into a plank. Exhale to lower the knees and bring the body all the way down to the floor. Pressing your fingers below your shoulders as you inhale to find your cobra. Exhale, take it all the way down. Inhale to press up to knees, tuck the toes, and find your downward facing dog. As you inhale, rise your right leg. Exhale to bring it through, knee to nose, and then step the foot between the hands. Press down with that left hand as you reach that right arm up. On the inhale, finding a twist. Roll that right hip back in your twist. And then on your next inhale, you're going to really ground your feet. Make sure you've got a bit of space between your feet so you've got some stability. And see if you can start to bring your arms up to the side. So right hand back, left hand forward. If you want to lower the knee here, you could lower the knee in that twist and find this position here. Wherever you are, trying to bring that torso over the hips, keeping that balance, sending those arms wide. And then inhale your arms to center, ground your back foot, find your warrior two, reaching the arms out wide. Oh, getting a bit of a heat on here. Stretch those arms out, release the shoulders from the ears. Lovely. Then exhale to windmill the hands, windmill the hands around that front foot. Step back to your plank and either lowering the knees first or lower your whole body down to the ground in one. Inhaling to find your back bend. Exhale to release it back down. Inhale to shift to knees, tuck toes. Press back, downward facing dog. On your next inhale, rise the left leg high. Exhale to step it through between the hands. Ground that right hand. Lift that left hand. Finding that twist. Rolling that left hip back with you. Pressing the right heel back behind you. Remember, you can always have your back knee down here. And then inhaling to rise. Send the arms wide. Oh, it's wobbly. Make sure you got some space between those feet. Trying to bring your torso above your hips, really bending into that front knee, stretching the arms out. Lovely. And inhale to rise the arms all the way up, ground that back foot, finding your warrior two on the other side, reaching those arms out, gazing over that middle finger, making sure front knee is pointing over the little toe side of the feet. And then windmill the hands over that front foot, step back into plank, said it right that time, and move through a flow, which could be a chaturanga if you're feeling it. Whatever feels good to you. And I always think it doesn't have to be the same. Just because sometimes you feel like a full chaturanga and an upward facing dog, doesn't mean it always has to be that. Now taking some steps all the way up to your hands, so walking to the top of your mat, you're going to bring your feet together. You're going to tuck your chin into your chest and you're going to roll all the way up, bringing the arms above you, exhaling them down to heart center. Okay, so this next bit is going to be a bit tricky. You're going to need that trust. So just breathe, do whatever you can, have a giggle with it. We'll see what happens. So inhale to rise the arms. Exhale to sit back into your Utkatasana, your chair pose. So reaching that bum behind you, there's a little tuck of the tailbone. Make sure you can see those toes beneath your knees. And you're going to bring your arms into a cactus. So rolling those elbows back. Yeah, finding that big opening through the chest. If this feels really uncomfortable, you could always have your arms wide and high. Whatever feels good for you. Now bring the hands to heart center. We're going to twist over to the right and plant this left elbow to the outside of the right thigh, pressing the hands together. Make sure that your left knee isn't creeping forwards as you twist to the right. Stay sitting low here. Just taking a breath. And then look down at your feet. This is tricky, this bit. We'll see what happens in my body as well. So we're pressing into the right foot and we're going to lift the left toes towards the bum. Oh yes. So balancing here like a little flamingo almost. One-legged little bird. Keep breathing here. See if you can hold that for one breath. And then send the foot down. Keep that bum low, bring the hands back to heart center, sit it back and down for one more breath, and then exhale, fold. Send the hands down to the floor, big old bend in the knees as you release here. Tuck your chin into chest and roll all the way up. Other side could be completely different. Inhale the arms up. Exhale to sit back into that chair. Utkatasana, fierce pose. Right, so even though it's called chair pose, that's what it actually translates as, fierce. Fierce pose, and fierce it is. Open the arms to that cactus shape. So bringing that chest forward and through, really opening up here as you press the bum back, slight tuck of the tailbone. And then bring the hands to heart center, twist, this time over to the left. Press those hands together. Bring that right elbow to outside of left thigh. Yes, as you find that twist, sit a little deeper. One more breath here, pressing the hands together to kind of come closer to your heart. Really twisting from the center here. And then look down at the feet. Keep that twist. Can you reach your right foot up to touch your bum or near in that direction? Try not to crumple the standing toes, scrunching them up. Try to spread them as wide as you can. One more breath here, little flamingo. And exhale to put it down. Now sit a little deeper, turn back to face the front, sit into that chair pose. And then fold. Fold it down, forward fold. Maybe grabbing a hold of those opposite elbows again, releasing yourself down. Finding that breath. And then releasing the hands, step left and right foot back to downward facing dog. As you inhale, shift over into plank and either lowering the knees or without the knees lowered, bring yourself to the floor. All the way down. Lovely. Now we're going to take our hands back behind us and just for a second rest the backs of the palms onto your lower back and just let the elbows widen here. Let the elbows kind of sink out to the side. And then clasp the hands together. You can always keep them beside you if a clasp doesn't feel good. Or you can grab a strap and hold the strap to kind of bring your arms closer to the clasp. Roll the shoulders back. Press that clasp down into your lower back. Press the hips into the floor. And then inhale to rise the chest, rise the arms, and then rise the legs, finding your locust pose. Roll those shoulders back, look down at the mat but a little in front of you. Can you lift those thighs away from the mat? Yes, keep here. For 3 more breaths, can you roll those shoulders back a little more? Can you drift those hands a little further? Lift the chest, lift the thighs. And on your next exhale, send it all the way back down. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders and inhale to press up to your knees. Tuck your toes and find a downward facing dog. And then just let the knees sink down to the floor as we come down to our knees. Oh, so I hope you're feeling a little warm. That's the aim. You've had a little bit of a play with trust. And we've got this kind of one last pose to help us play a little more with trust, because this can be one that for some takes a lot of trust. For others, maybe not so much, but there's kind of different variations that we can use to have a play. So we're on our knees. We're gonna kind of sit tall on our shins. Tuck our toes back behind us. Knees are stacked underneath hips, so there's a bit of space between the thighs. Roll the shoulders back. Place the hands on the hips. Inhale to roll the shoulders, lift the chest. Maybe take just a little bend, a little opening. Keep the hips pressing forward. Roll the shoulders back. And just take a little bend. We're not moving much yet. We're pressing the hips forward and just finding like there is a kind of bit of rope in the middle of the top of your chest, pulling you up. That's the direction you're moving. Now just come up, back up to straight. Maybe you untuck the toes and you just sit back on the heels for a second. So that's where we're starting. We're focusing on pressing the hips forward and like growing up through the chest. Like a bit of popcorn. When it's like in the microwave or in the oven or wherever you're cooking your popcorn from a little kernel. It's like growing, but in like such a slow and like up and outwards way, right? Maybe? We've got people like, no, popcorn definitely doesn't grow like that. So coming back again to shins, tucking the toes. This time, we're going to press the hands back behind us. You could have your fingertips pointing down or pointing up, whatever kind of feels good for you. Inhale to press the hips forward, lift the chest. Maybe start to find a little more of a bend, really pressing forward with those hips, lifting the chest up, and maybe taking a hand back to the heel, maybe another. Maybe you just stay with the hands on the back. Press the hips forward, lift up. That string is pulling you up and open. Your popcorn is steadily growing, although don't pop. And try to be really gentle on the neck here. It can be kind of tempting if it feels okay for you to take the head all the way back, but try to keep a little pocket at the back. We're opening our heart at the front, but also at the back. The heart comes out at the back too. And then bringing your hands back to your hips and slowly bringing yourself up. I'm going to do one more like that. So one more opportunity to bend. You can stay like this. You can come back or stay with hands on hips, finding a little bend, hands on back, just finding a bend here. Or if you're finding this okay, you could untuck your toes and it just gives you a little more of a deep bend. But make sure you've still got that space. You're still really pressing the body up. So hands on hips first, wherever you are, or on the back actually. Fingertips up or down, wherever feels good to you. Inhale to roll the shoulders back. Press the hips forward. And then maybe you start to take your hands back to heels, toes tucked or not, but really giving yourself that lift, pressing forward with the hips, up and out through the chest. Take 2 more breaths wherever you are. 1 more breath. And then bring your hands back to your hips and gently come all the way up and just sink back down onto your heels. Bring your knees as wide as your mat. Just take your hands forward here, really gently, like we're starting to take the body in the opposite direction. So just go gently here. Breathing into your child's pose. Just seeing how you feel. And then gently start to walk your hands up towards you. You're going to come onto a seat. Take the feet out in front. And really gently lay yourself back. Bring your right leg all the way over the left. So left sole of the foot to the floor, right leg crosses over. Slightly lift the hips as you shove them over to the right. So a gentle little lift to the right, and then exhale the knees over to the left. You can take your arms out to a cactus, out to a T here. If this feels way too intense or does not feel like a twist that you would like today, you just stack this right knee on top of left and just release them over to the left. Maybe you gaze towards your right hand, but try to keep your shoulders grounded. Allowing yourself some stillness. It doesn't just have to be moving and building heat. And then inhale your knees up to center. Gently unravel your right leg. Wrap left over right. Lift the hips slightly and take them over to the left. And then the knees drop to the right. Maybe looking back over that left hand. Maybe keeping your gaze upwards. Taking it slow, not just jumping straight back to where we had got to on the other side. With each exhale, maybe just sinking a little more. And then inhale to bring the knees up to center. Unravel that top leg and send your legs out long. Bring your arms out wide, palms facing up. Snuggle the shoulder blades underneath you. And before you release yourself to a little mini Shavasana, just thinking about one place where you can instill some trust into your life. Where can you practice trust? And starting to deepen your breath. Big inhales and exhales. Feeling the belly expanding. And taking the arms all the way overhead. stretching yourself out long before bringing the knees into the chest, hugging them towards you, maybe taking some little circles with the ankles. And then gently making your way onto one side. And in your own time, coming up to seat. Keeping the eyes closed, finding a cross-legged position. Sitting up tall. Rolling the shoulders back. And bringing the hands to heart center. Let's take one more deep breath in through the nose. And out through the mouth. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Go out there and trust. Thank you.